So a lot of you guys on here know my story. You know where I started, where I'm at, and but a lot of you don't really know what it took to get to where I am. And about a year ago, I put out a video. I can't remember the title exactly, but it was me talking about the process of growing a business. And I just kind of wanted to go from start to finish for those of you that are either new to the channel or you're not new to the channel, but you don't know the whole story. And so back in 2013-ish, I started an exterior cleaning business called The Dirt Hunter. And I started because I had no money. I was an entrepreneur. I knew I was going to own my own company, but I had no money to really start anything. I don't come from a wealthy family. In fact, my parents were split up my whole life. My dad was an alcoholic. He wasn't really around. He died actually in 2013 in a car accident from drinking and driving. My mom, we're single parent. I always say I didn't go without, but I also didn't have anything extra. And so I didn't have money to really start. And so I looked around and I said, what could I do on a shoestring budget? And long story short, I landed window cleaning. And so broke that I didn't have money for a truck or a van. I was driving a Ford Focus at the time, and I found a lease through Ford. It was like it was such a little down, like $100-200 down, something ridiculously almost free, and basically high payments but nothing down. And that's how I got started. I had my truck, and I just knew I had to generate enough money by the end of that month to pay my payment. Fast track a little bit into year one, and my wife and I, we lived in a rental house. It was not nice. I wish I had pictures of it. Like literally looked like the outside looked like a crack house almost. Like it was that bad. Like almost like really embarrassing to bring our friends over to. The inside wasn't nice at all, but it's what we could afford, and it was in the town that I was working in. And first year we did $43,000 in sales, and I worked 60-70 hours a week, and it was a struggle. And for those of you that are in business, you know that $43,000 doesn't mean that's what I made, it just means that's what the business did. Now take all the expenses out, and I paid myself $12,000 that year. And at the end of the month when the bills were paid, we just had nothing left. And so going into year two, I said, listen, I got to figure something out. I had a business partner then, and I said, hey, if we're going to grow this thing, I got to get off a truck right now. We're going to hire somebody to work with you, and I'm going to go work full time on getting us jobs, so that way you guys are busy nonstop. And that's exactly what I did, and I just made it work. The business had no money from marketing or anything, so I'm knocking on doors, I'm putting out flyers, all the cheap stuff that nobody else wants to do because it's so time consuming. But I had no choice because it's all I had. And that second year we went from $43,000 to $125,000, and that's when I had the aha moment. I'm gonna backtrack a little through that second year. We went through like 5 or 6 employees. At the end of that season, we actually ended up having to fire a guy, and so we had nobody going into year 3. But I had the aha moment that, hey, this is possible. Like, I just tripled our business in 1 year because I put my head down. I got myself out of the driver's seat, and I started trying to figure out what works. And going into year 3, we did $285,000 in sales year 3. And what I did in the beginning of the year is I hired 4 guys right after winter. I mean, we had no work on the schedule or anything. And because I was like, you know what, I want to add another truck this year. Didn't know if I was going to be able to, but in my head, I was adding another truck. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so going into year 3, hired 4 guys. Keep in mind, I only had experience with 1 employee the year before, and we ended the year with no employees. So these were all new guys in my company, and I started to really focus on company culture and systems, and how can I make this thing as bulletproof as possible while still being very small, because when you're small, your business is fragile, right? I still feel like my business is fragile sometimes, but I did my best to create systems and put things in place and having things there for employees to work off of that made us run as smooth as possible. And that brings us into this year, year 4. We do somewhere around $450,000 in sales, and assuming we don't get any bigger contracts than we're already assuming, who knows what can happen. I've learned not to underestimate the power of just crazy things happening and jobs falling in your lap that you don't expect sometimes. But This year we'll do around 450,000, and you know, my personal goal is to do $1 million in sales by the age of 30. That's 3 years away, and we have a strategy to get us there. And there's no doubt in my head, again, just like when I hired 4 employees, no doubt in my head that now I will get there in 3 years to $1 million bucks. But the reason I'm making this video is because it's all fine and dandy. It's a cool, you know, little testimony and story, right? It's inspiring. It makes you feel like, wow, maybe I can actually do this. But what I really want to talk to you about is there's a lot of people that are going to watch this and go, man, I want to do that. But probably very, very few will ever do it. And it's not because I did something so great, but it's because they underestimate the hard work that goes in. They underestimate what the process is really like. And as an entrepreneur, I'm a true believer that as a purebred entrepreneur, the process is more enjoyable than the final goal. And for me, that's what it's been the whole time. And although there's days, don't get me wrong, where I feel like, man, I'm gonna quit because this is retarded, this is too hard, like I'm done dealing with people, I'm done dealing with employees. You wake up the next day and you realize, man, but it sure does feel good not to have to go into work and you know, perform for a boss. Sure does feel good to be able to take a lunch break whenever I want. Sure does feel good to be able to go home and hang out with my wife whenever I want. And those are the things that keep me going, but more so than that even is the enjoyable process of growing a business. And so I want to encourage all of you guys to really take a look at yourself and check yourself and say, man, like, why am I doing this? Like, in your heart, what is your main reason? Why are you doing this? Why are you growing a business? Why do you want to start a business? Why do you own a business? A lot of people own a business for 10 years, don't even know why they own a business. And that's the very first step you have to take. And then don't lie to yourself. Ask yourself, am I a purebred entrepreneur? Like, is it everything to me? Like, if someone said, hey, what's your favorite hobby? Would it be growing a business? Because that's what I tell people all the time. Matt, what do you like to do? I like growing businesses. Like, it's a hobby to me. Like, I enjoy it so much, it's not even a job. Ask yourself that question. If that's not your answer, it's fine. In fact, be honest with yourself. But recognize, to get to the highest level possible that you can, to reach your max potential, especially in business, that's what you gotta be. And if that's not you, if you're like, oh, I like having my own business, but it's like, it's not my main priority. I'm not saying put your family to the side or anything like that, but for me, like, business is a huge priority to me. If it's not you, if it's like, oh, I'd rather hang out with friends, or like, I like, you know, taking the weekends off, or whatever it is, then maybe, you know, you're gonna have to realize, like, you know, I'm okay with having just like a medium-sized business, you know what I mean? And that's cool, like, totally fine. But what I hope this video does is I hope it allows you to check yourself and figure out who you are and be honest with yourself. Don't say you're a purebred entrepreneur if you're not. Don't encourage yourself to be something you're not, because you'll never be happy. It'll be miserable. And this life is too short to be miserable. So check yourself, find out who you are as a person, and then pursue it and be okay with it. You know, God created you for who you are for a reason, right? He didn't create you to be somebody else. He created you to be who you are for a reason, because you're special, you are one of a kind. And I think that's what's so cool about life and business and this journey of life that we're on. It's so short, it's too short to be living a life that's not yours. So hope that encourages you guys. I just wanted to kind of share my story and everything. And if you have any questions, I'll leave my email in the description below. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. See ya.